The Regeneration, a novel by Pat Barker published in 1991, draws heavily on historical events, examining the experiences of soldiers treated for shell shock after the First World War. Barker incorporates first-person narratives drawn from primary sources to create vivid, realistic characters within the hospital. The novel begins with the poet Siegfried Sassoon publicly declaring himself a conscientious objector and subsequently being sent, labeled as shell-shocked, to an army hospital. The hospital psychiatrist, W.H.R. Rivers, expresses doubt over Sassoon's claim and after examination concludes he is obliged to send him back to combat. Sassoon fears for his safety, aware that many of his peers are dying on the front lines. Other soldiers at the hospital also endure intense suffering. Anderson, a surgeon, cannot bear the sight of blood following his own breakdown. Burns, after being hurled into the air by an explosion and landing on the ruptured stomach of a dead soldier, finds himself disgusted by eating. Another soldier, Billy Pryor, is rendered mute and can communicate only through writing. Sassoon meets the aspiring poet Will Owens, whom he assists in composing a poem, and also becomes Anderson's golfing companion. Meanwhile, Pryor ventures into Edinburgh where he meets Sarah, a woman whose boyfriend was killed in battle. They come close to intimacy, but she ultimately refuses him. Upon returning to the hospital, Pryor is confined for 2 weeks as punishment for his absence, and Rivers begins using hypnosis to help him confront his traumatic memories. Rivers encourages Sassoon to publish his poetry and invites him to the conservative club, realizing how difficult it will be to persuade him to return to the front. Pryor reconnects with Sarah, explaining his absence, and they reconcile. When caught in a storm, they finally make love while seeking shelter. During Rivers' enforced leave, Sassoon comes to recognize him as a father figure, experiencing flashbacks of his own father's abandonment. While Rivers is away, Sassoon attends church near his brother's farm, reflecting on the sacrifices of younger men in the war. Working on the farm offers him a cathartic release, and he recalls his father's speech therapies, including those given to a man later known as Lewis Carroll. Sarah accompanies her friend Madge to the hospital, but becomes separated, finding herself in the tent for amputees, horrified at how the wounded are hidden from view. Pryor faces a review board, fearing they will deem him a malingerer and return him to the trenches. Rivers is offered a position in London, but hesitates, wanting to honor his duties at the hospital. One night, Rivers visits Burns's family home. During a storm, Burns experiences flashbacks that allow him to speak of his wartime experiences. These events convince Rivers to accept the London post. When he informs Sassoon, Sassoon admits guilt over avoiding combat and resolves to return. Sarah reveals her relationship with Pryor to her mother, who reacts with disapproval. Sassoon confides in fellow writer Robert Graves about his decision and wrestles with questions about his sexual identity. Pryor is placed on home duty, and he and Sarah affirm their love. Sassoon's return to the front deeply affects Graves. Rivers transitions to his new role in London, meeting Dr. Yealland, who advocates pain-based treatment for shell shock. Rivers wonders whether he can work alongside someone employing such harsh methods. The novel concludes with Rivers reflecting on his hospital experiences, reviewing his notes, and contemplating the impact of his encounters with patients. A central theme of The Regeneration is the horror of war. Civilians removed from the battlefield struggle to comprehend the experiences of returning soldiers, while official accounts often omit visceral details. The novel is fundamentally anti-war, challenging myths of wartime glory. It also critiques cultural constructs such as masculinity and national pride. Ideals of manliness conflict with the reality of psychological breakdowns, dictating what kinds of male relationships are acceptable, friendship and loyalty, versus forbidden sexual attraction. These expectations provoke introspection and discomfort as soldiers navigate healing and the possibility of returning to war, torn between societal notions of readiness and their own trauma. The novel further contrasts Rivers' compassionate therapeutic methods with Yealand's more punitive approach. Yealland believes many soldiers were doomed to break down regardless of war, while Rivers demonstrates empathy and understanding. As a work of historical fiction and anti-war literature, Barker's novel, grounded in extensive research, allows readers to witness the trauma and recovery of the period through the eyes of deeply human, believable characters. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video, leave a like and subscribe.